I'm Matt.
I'm Shane, and you are about to listen to an excerpt from a Comic Movie Marks podcast.
So if you like what you hear, make sure you hit that like button real hard, and make sure you subscribe to Comic Movie Marks. And always remember,
If Trailer Trash can do it,
anyone can do it.
Nick's just trolling us now.
Oh, I know. And next week is going to be the big one, kids. Everybody's been asking for our Iron Man 3 review. Well, it's coming next week.
Yep, you gotta wait. This week is Iron Man 2.
Yep, and let's going to get in right into that.
All right, beautiful.
Here's our retro review, because we're building up to Infinity War. It came a week early, so now we're going to have to speed this up a little.
Yeah.
We're going to have to combine some shit a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're building up, and hopefully we're going to rank all the MCU movies after we finish our reviews.
Hopefully.
Oh, yeah, hopefully. We should be able to pull this off.
Yeah. Depending on the timing, it might be after Infinity War. Who knows? But we'll see. I think we'll be able to get it in there. But yeah, as Matt said, we will be ranking them. All of them. And this Iron Man 2 is officially our last one for
Phase 1.
For Phase 1. So
Last one for Phase 1.
yeah, we kind of went out of order with some of them. We did review Iron Man 1 was our first retro review that we did. I think our first MCU retro review. I believe we did a couple other ones like Man of Steel before.
Yeah.
I want to say, but yeah, so we started off, we wanted to see how well they held up, and now let's get into Iron Man 2. So I have just some random notes. I found this kind of interesting. The Phase 1, it's also been known as Avengers Assembled. That's not what's interesting. All of the films in Phase 1 grossed $3.8 billion worldwide. That's pretty fucking crazy.
And a majority of that is Avengers.
It is, yeah. 1 billion of that, but still, like...
No, I thought Avengers made almost $2 billion.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Holy shit. Yeah, that's right.
It's number 3, right? It's number 3 of all time, I believe. Behind Titanic and Avatar.
Right.
It's like a 2 billion marker.
Yeah.
Or maybe Star Wars may have taken it over.
Maybe.
The Force Awakens.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I haven't looked recently. So Iron Man 2, its production budget was $200 million. The domestic gross was $312 million, and foreign was $311 million for a worldwide lifetime gross of $623 million. Its opening weekend was $128 million as well.
Nice.
This was released in May of 2010, so 8 years ago. Holy shit, almost 8 years ago. I found this was also kind of interesting. You look at the Phase 1 Iron Man movies. Both of them were directed by Jon Favreau, 1 and 2. Yep. And then number 3, they switched directors and was directed by Shane Black. Yeah. So I looked up a couple of his other things. He's not really noted for much else.
Shane Black?
Yeah, Shane Black, I believe.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He was in The Predator. He's actually doing
The Predator. Yeah,
he was in The Predator, and he's doing The Predators, the new one that's coming out.
Yeah.
Soon here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I thought that was kind of interesting, and there's definitely a tonal shift between those and number 3. So, bravo to Favreau. I'll just say that. Iron Man 2, Rotten Tomatoes, if you care, a 73% on the tomato meter, audience score of 72%. It's one of the closer comparison when you have, and maybe it's because of when Rotten Tomatoes came out, but between the tomato meter and audience, usually there's a bit of a discrepancy.
This is a Paramount movie too. This isn't before Disney, so this is still part of the Paramount distribution with Marvel Studios.
Right.
So,
and then IMDb rates it 7 out of 10, and Metascore is 57. Whatever the fuck that means, we still have not figured that out.
Actually, we had an article a while back displaying Metacritic or Metascore or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was going to do it on here, and I lost the article, and I never cared about it to look again.
Yeah, I just like to bring it up because people are like, "Ooh, what does 57 mean?" No,
oh, sweet.
But it also says, it also says only 40 critic reviews. So
on Metacritic,
the Metascore 40 critic reviews. So you take that as you will.
Grain of salt.
The critic consensus on Rotten Tomatoes is it isn't quite the breath of fresh air that Iron Man was, but the sequel comes close with a solid performance and an action-packed plot. So do we want to get into kind of our pros?
I got some random shit. I don't have much on this one. So
okay.
First couple pros I noticed was Psylocke was in this in the very beginning. Olivia Munn, the chick that played Psylocke in... Oh, you never watched the X-Men movies. That's right.
No.
Anyway.
Not all of them, no.
Anyway, the woman that played Psylocke in X-Men Apocalypse, she was the news broadcaster in the very beginning there.
Okay, nice.
So that's why. And then
yeah, that is random.
and then I don't know why, but this just kind of blew me away. But Elon Musk was in this.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he goes and shakes his hand. Like
oh,
when they're,
fuck.
When they're at the bar there.
Yeah.
Just before talking to
even
Hammer,
catch that.
he's
That's
like,
awesome.
He's like, I think Pepper Potts says Musk or something like that, and Tony or Robert Downey Jr. shakes his hand, and they talk about like an electric suit or something like that, or I don't know, or I can't remember exactly what he said. And he walks away, and it's like, yeah, it's fucking him. And I'm
right. Like, holy shit.
I was like, oh, shit.
That's pretty badass. So that must be right around the time of Tesla.
That's an electric Easter egg. Yeah,
exactly. After he, started plotting to take over the world with PayPal and all sorts of stuff. So in that kind of same vein, I thought the humor in this stuck a little bit more to Iron Man 1. There was a little bit more adult humor. The part that I was in that same part that I was focusing on was the actress from the first Iron Man that sleeps with Tony Stark, and she's like the
reporter.
The reporter. And I thought it was pretty funny because
the spread.
Yeah.
She's actually doing a big spread on me for Vanity Fair. I thought I'd throw her a bone,
Right.
Yes.
Well, she did quite a spread on Tony last year.
And she wrote a story as well.
It was very impressive.
That was good.
Very well done.
So, Pepper Potts said she did quite the spread on Tony last year, and then he said, yeah, and she wrote a piece on me too. So I was like, how fitting. And I enjoyed most of the humor in this, and I felt that Tony Stark wasn't his annoying like shithead self. He was very quick-witted like the first one. And I enjoyed him. I enjoyed a lot of the characters.
The humor in this one was okay. There were some parts I smiled at. There's a couple stupid humor parts, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think I laughed out loud like I did in the first one, but it wasn't. The humor in this was not eye rolling like most of the MCU humor. It was a little more adult oriented, and like I said, I liked a lot of the quips. I thought it was the screenplay and a lot of the dialogue was very well written. I thought some of the stuff, that even though the fucking Business Insider thought that Whiplash was a horrible villain, I thought some of his lines were pretty solid. Kind of the first interaction you get with Tony Stark and Whiplash, where he's just throwing out some random bullshit of like, oh yeah, of like how basically the Whiplash works, and then eventually he turns around and utilizes that of like, oh yeah, thanks for the tip. When he calls Tony Stark, and he's like, yeah, I increased the
whatever, butane.
yeah. So I thought the dialogue in this was pretty solid.
I thought the Mickey Rourke character, the Ivan Drago or whatever the fuck he was, that's Rocky IV. But whatever he is, he's Ivan. It's fucking every goddamn Russian in the movie is named Ivan.
Exactly. Might as well be.
I thought his character was okay. I don't know. Just it seemed like that whole situation with the dad, I didn't quite like that storyline. That somehow, because this is literally what Nick Fury says to him, is that they were working together, the dad, Ivan's dad, and Tony Stark's dad, I always forget his fucking Howard Stark.
Howard, yeah.
Jose or Howard Stark, whatever you want to call him. We're working together, but then when he wanted to make money off of it, instead, dad had him deported. I'm like, well, wait, what the fuck does that mean?
Right,
Does that mean black market, or he was selling it off somewhere else, or was he just trying to get rich off of it? Like, what's wrong with trying to get rich off of an invention?
Well, yeah, because that's essentially what Tony Stark, or what Howard Stark had done, and how he became a billionaire was off of weapons and stuff. Yeah, that is a good point.
They kind of just skewed right over that major plot point.
Right.
Like, why that happened the way it did. And just Nick Fury just threw it out there with a sprinkle.
Right. Yeah. It was just supposed to be the loose tie-in of the motivations of Mickey Rourke's character, of Whiplash. I enjoyed him. I thought Mickey Rourke, for what he was given, I didn't really care for the whole bird thing. That was kind of weird.
Yeah, see, that stuff. See, I don't really think I like his character in this because the bird thing, the drones, he just repeat back what Rockwell says to him, and he's like, don't be attached to things,
Yeah, no, I thought that was clever, and then eventually,
I didn't think it was clever.
It's the way he's working in everything, because even though, he's supposed to be the lackey who's building these suits, he is like, no, I'm actually gonna take it over, and now I can hack into them, and I thought it was well done. I enjoyed his character. Yeah, it's a little basic. But I thought for what it was, and it's only a little over a 2-hour long movie, which at points it felt like it. The final fight with Whiplash just sped right through. I was like, holy fuck, I felt like that should be a little bit longer.
I thought it was. I thought it dragged out for a while, but no, it just
it's just it goes super
it takes
fast.
coming
and
off
then-
like twice because that's what everybody.
I know. I knew you were gonna say that. I'm like, oh fuck, it's just like the mask, just like Spider-Man. And the CGI, like in most of the movie, was pretty solid until that.
Yeah,
until
exactly.
that part.
I was like, wait, what the hell?
Why would you do that?
Did he refuse to wear the armor or something, or like because I know for a while there, Downey was wearing like an actual armor thing almost for a little bit.
I think it was just the top part.
The top part. But,
yeah.
But still, I mean, he's doing. But now I think he's down to just mocap.
Yeah.
I think it's straight up almost all fucking CGI.
Yeah,
now.
you're right though. It was he had some sort of armor that he would wear and maybe make it work, or his hair like couldn't quite fit in there. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, that one was really, really weird. Yeah, I noticed the same exact thing. It was like all of a sudden now I could see that floating head thing that you've always talked about. With
right,
the CGI.
yeah.
I was like, with that one, I see it like clear as fucking day.
Yeah.
Like his head is like floating there. It's weird fucking.
Yeah,
looking.
you go from the race cars getting chopped by his electric whips or whatever the fuck. I thought looked fantastic. I thought it looked pretty awesome. The explosions and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's definitely kind of like a positive / negative for me.
Okay.
This had that old Hollywood sequel trope that bigger is now better for your sequel.
Mm-hmm.
And they definitely had way more explosions.
Yeah.
Way more shit going on in the first one. And I mean, they went all out. That end scene where everything's just blowing up, the robots, the fight scene, that French raceway or whatever, the car scene. Yeah, all those cars are blowing up, and he's looking like a badass, not looking behind him while the explosions are going off and shit. I mean, they really went all out on that one. I give them that. But at the same time, it does seem a tad bit ridiculous that these cars going 100 something miles an hour are just.
No, yeah. What seemed ridiculous is Happy driving the car in reverse direction as these ones are just going right past. I'm like, come on,
giant fucking Bentley,
right? But the CGI in that was fantastic. I thought it was really well done. And then at the end of the movie, you're like, what the fuck? This is shitty.
Keep your fucking helmet on.
Yeah, but I to your point, I feel like that little city or whatever was built for the expo was only so that it could be destroyed. Like just fucking glass blowing up everywhere and the drones, blowing up and shit like that. It was pretty random.
The hearing, I'll go into one of my I'll go more positive. That beginning hearing, the Senate hearing with Tony.
Oh, it was fucking awesome. Yeah,
that was
great.
Hilarious.
Yeah, that was really well done. And then how they incorporated the same guy at the very end, and
the
then
Hell Hydra guy too later on in Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
And but I liked how he pokes Tony Stark. It's amazing how annoying a little prick can be.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny with Justin Hammer when he hacks the things and.
Threat here. Is that Justin Hammer?
Right leg up.
How did Hammer get in the game?
Arm up.
Justin, you're on TV. Focus up.
Okay, let's be a left switch. Left, turn to the right. Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
Wow. Yeah, I'd say most countries 5-10 years away. Hammer Industries 20.
I'd like to point out that test pilot survived.
I have successfully privatized world peace. What more do you want? For now! I tried to play ball with these ass clowns.
Fuck you, Mr. Stark. Fuck you, buddy. We're adjourned.
And he's like, "Oh, is that Hammer on there?" And he's like, "Lift your leg. All right, now turn." That pilot survived, by the way. Like, I thought that shit was pretty funny.
But one of the things
and then he's like, they go to the C-SPAN feed. Fuck you, Tony.
yeah.
Fuck you, Mr. Stark. Beep. They're bleeping it out. I'm like,
it is.
That's pre-Disney.
Again, more adult oriented. Yeah, really, really well
Just
done.
having this senator say "fuck you" on this.
One of the parts I did kind of laugh out loud about, which it was so stupid, but the
introduction to Don Cheadle's version.
No, well, just him like
he's
trying to launch
Rhodes, and he comes up to think, well, you're not fucking Rhodes from the first one. You're a lot smaller.
Yeah, no shit.
Bye, Terrence.
But I did like the introduction of the War Machine. And like it kind of being put into this, how he steals Iron Man's suit, and and Tony only allows no one could steal his suits, and except for basically Rhodey. Yeah,
And Nick Fury brings up, you let the little brother come in there.
Right. Yeah.
Take your suit and fly off.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome. So, and then all of a sudden
you can tell that's an improvised scene because I don't think they would write that in there. The little brother.
Right. But yeah, then he gets all these additions put on. And one of the parts that I did laugh at was the little, I can't remember what he called it.
The ex-wife.
The ex-wife. That's what it was. And then it shoots, it's like pink.
It's the opposite.
That made me laugh.
What happened in the Iron Man 1 when he blows up the tank and he has a little rocket and he fucking fires it and the tank blows up. This is the opposite.
Yeah. And then he's like hammer
tech.
Yeah, hammer tech. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was.
One last positive I have is
positive. Wow.
Yeah. Holy shit, guess what? They actually had some fight scenes in this. No shaky cam. I didn't think there was a Marvel movie without shaky cam.
Oh my gosh. Well, phase 1.
When Black Widow was fighting those guys in the hallway, it's almost no shaky cam. Like
and it looks awesome too.
Oh yeah, she's kicking ass.
Yeah.
And then Happy's fighting that one guy forever.
Yeah, that was another pretty funny part. She's just whooping the shit out of him, and then he finally knocks him out. Yeah, I got him. And then he looks, and the one guy's like dangling from the ceiling. I laughed at that part too. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Actually, Black Widow's character, I can't remember what movie we just reviewed. Avengers. It was in the Avengers when we were reviewing it. I said that her fucking character bugged me, and like she's like kind of a one-off. You watch her in the first, the first go round of a movie, okay, not bad, but then you watch her repetitively, and she's kind of fucking annoying. In this, I actually really liked her character, and I think part of it,
she was more serious.
She was more serious. Her, like you said, the action scene, I noticed that too. Not necessarily the shaky cam, but that's exactly what it was. But I noticed
you can see what's happening.
Right, it's a lot more fluid, and it looked fucking awesome. And she was kicking ass, punched the one guy in the dick. I'm like, oh fuck,
hardcore too. Yeah, Johnny Cage. That shit.
When I was watching this, my wife was like, note that down, put that in your notes right there. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna do that. I'll just remember. How can I forget?
That's her finishing move.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Finish him. So yeah, I liked her character. I liked a lot of the characters in this movie. I enjoyed Whiplash, Hammer. I enjoyed as well. I also I liked how the movie was starting. Kind of some of the underlining tones of what Tony was kind of struggling with. He's starting to what is it? The one thing's killing him. What is it called? Yeah, the metal essentially is killing him, and then he gets drunk at the party. Which I'm gonna bring this up in the Iron Man 3 review as well, but I'm gonna bring it up now. The fact that was supposed to be touched on even further is that his alcoholism, and I think that would have been something great to kind of touch on, and they introduced it here, which I enjoyed. It was funny. He's like shooting the fucking wine bottles or whatever and all sorts of stuff. And I thought that would have been cool to adapt, but that's not what we got. It's also kind of intriguing that the government wants him to hand over all of these suits and all of his tech and everything like that. They're trying to get it, and then he's got a competitor that wants the suits as well. And Rhodey steals one of the suits. But then in Civil War, he's like, yeah, we should be reined in. So again, it's just kind of funny. But I did kind of like that. I liked that after the first Iron Man, the government would go, hold on, you have no jurisdiction. We're taking those. I thought that was pretty cool. It's just funny how, when you watch it in hindsight, it definitely is. It doesn't necessarily make sense because at this point, he's like, no, I operate on my own. Basically, you're not going to get shit. And then he's like, no, yeah, well, we need to be reined in. So, again, it's similar point.
Okay, so some of my negatives kind of roll into what you're talking about there a little bit. I felt there's too many storylines in this one.
That's a good point.
I actually liked the reining the suit in, oh, you got this technology, we need to know, people are not going to have this technology for 20 years. And then it turns out people can remake this technology fairly easy, or some people can anyway. I like the fact that he had a competitor that's trying to outclass him. I didn't need the sickness one. You could have gotten rid of that one, and it would have eliminated the annoying Gwyneth Paltrow Popper Potts parts.
Yeah,
which really annoyed me. She was one of the worst characters.
Absolutely. In all of the Iron Man movies, and once we get into Iron Man 3, it's even worse.
Really bad.
But yeah, and my wife again, she agreed with me, and I was like, I'm not a big fan of Gwyneth Paltrow, and my wife says, yeah, actually, I don't really like her character in this. So that's someone else who doesn't really watch these movies like we do, and she's kind of like, yeah, that's a fucking annoying character.
That's a fellow redhead, so she's talking
yeah.
shit. So,
yeah,
I
no
mean,
kidding. Well, I think,
sucker.
is Black Widow a redhead in this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's maybe in this.
And
in
she's
this
going
she
over
is.
to the other
Yeah,
one.
she's like, I'm the badass, not the
No cry
yeah,
whining
exactly.
bitch.
The annoying one. Yeah. The love interest. There was a lot of, and then you had like the loose tie-in with his father, and there was definitely
if
a
you got
lot
rid of the sickness, you actually have a more interesting movie about the government trying to steal his shit with Rhodey
Right.
and stuff like that. Because, when Rhodey's talking about trying to prevent the National Guard from rolling tanks down on your door, I mean, that would have been an interesting scene, maybe, to have tanks at the front of his fucking house with him standing there. Moments like that, I think, would have been more intriguing. And
I think what they could have done, because at this point, if they are looking to roll the sickness and the alcoholism into Iron Man 3, I think that almost needs to be there. But if you roll the Hammer stuff into the government, like maybe he works for the government, and you have those two, the government and the sickness, so that the sickness and the alcoholism and he's gonna die, so who fucking cares, into Iron Man 3, then I think it could have worked out that way.
Yeah, I think that would have been just a little bit better. The sickness happening, I think, led to a lot of the down moments of the movie, which are the Gwyneth Paltrow, Pepper Potts moments, and then like when he's talking to Nick Fury there, and he learns what Black Widow's identity is, and he's in the donut. I need you to step out of the donut, or that whole thing, and
he's hungover.
And then the whole fucking thing with his dad and everything, trying to find this new element or some shit like that. That whole thing, the Sparks Expo 74 model or whatever, like that whole thing could have just been like you just have him.
I agree.
I mean, maybe have a better way for him if you get a new power source, if you want to upgrade him somehow. Maybe find a different way to do it. But that whole part's what dragged it down. They should have just stuck with a more serious tone like they did with the first one about him being captured and everything and dealing with things like that, and keep him to that privatized person, keep the government out of his shit. I think would have been a much more interesting story. But somewhere in there, it got scuttled up with this illness thing and this wanting to die and Pepper Potts being whiny and eliminate all that and the movie is 10 times better.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Yeah, that's mainly the only other thing I had that was my negative was the score was inconsistent.
Oh, that was the other thing. The score was terrible.
Yeah, at points I thought it was awful. Like the Whiplash car scene, it was way over the top, way too fucking. It was awful. It was very orchestral.
Did Danny Elfman do this one?
Yeah, it's
did he?
No, he didn't. No, but I did fucking look it up because it sounded like it. And when I was watching at that point, I'm like, what? This is way over the top, very like, like orchestral nonsense as I'm hitting our mic. So it was done by John Debney, and he's done movies like Elf, Bruce Almighty, Liar Liar, and The Scorpion King. So why you would rope him into your superhero movie? No fucking clue. I mean, maybe The Scorpion King. But Liar Liar, Elf, Bruce Almighty, no fucking idea. But there were some times, and it was right around, it was like he was trying to come up with some sort of theme for Iron Man. And there were parts like when he's, trying to come up with he creates a metal or whatever, and it's like, has like heavy rock type music. I thought that was kind of cool. And there when he's drunk at the party, he kind of has his own, and he's like doing stuff. There's like a rock score, going on behind him. I thought that was kind of cool.
The fat beat. Another one bites the dust.
Right.
Another one. Right.
But yeah, for the most part, it was very inconsistent, and it sucked absolutely in multiple cases where I'm like, this does not fit. I don't know what the fuck you're trying, but it doesn't work.
All right, let's wrap it up and give our scores.
All right. So ultimately, as I agree with Matt largely that it was the storyline, and maybe that's kind of what you summarized it better than what I was thinking in my mind, because I felt like that it was a little convoluted. and no one storyline stood out of that I could really connect to. And I think
you don't really get payoffs or any of them either.
Right. I think you hit the nail on the head that it's because there's so many of them, and I didn't really quite think of it like that. I do enjoy a lot of the characters. I liked this version of Tony Stark. He didn't get too annoying. Neither did Black Widow. So ultimately, I give it a 3.2 out of 5 marks.
This is definitely a middle of the road MCU movie. A lot of people consider this one of the worst ones. Everybody always goes by the Rotten Tomatoes score. I've always seen it's very consistent. Yeah. Everybody's always like, the worst MCU movies are Thor: The Dark World and Iron Man 2, because those are the lowest rated, and Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Those are always the ones that every list I've ever seen always starts out with those 3. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you right now, pretty sure neither one of our lists are going to have those as the bottom 3.
No.
So that's how we're gonna how we're gonna roll on this one.
That's very accurate.
This is a middle of the road movie. I think it earns its 70-something% on Rotten Tomatoes. That actually makes sense to me, because that's about what I would say. I would kind of say it's in that middle of the road, C- average type place and stuff like that. So I give it 2.8 out of 5 marks.
Alrighty.
So that concludes our podcast, building up to Infinity War. That's coming a week early, motherfuckers.
Throwing a monkey wrench into all this bullshit.
And then something else got moved up too. Oh, the Rock movie, Rampage.
Oh,
they moved that.
They did? Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Because it was that week it was coming out. And so
shit.
They moved it. So now they're like, oh,
we're running.
I really didn't know you could move a movie that close to the date.
Yeah.
I thought after a certain point you're locked in.
Yeah, these theaters are like in panic, maybe trying to. I don't know how they schedule shit out, but
all the overtime they were planning.
Yeah, no kidding. They're like, fuck, a week ahead of time.
Wow, get your extra popcorn now.
Yeah, exactly.
So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube page. We are at 382 subscribers.
Woo! Can't believe it.
It is growing and growing and growing. We actually look like we have a normal YouTube channel.
Well, I mean, don't hold your breath, but...
We actually seem to have a troll, though. I have noticed that. We have a secret thumbs down troll, I've noticed. Almost instantly when our stuff goes up, I'll look at it, and we'll have a decent amount of likes, but always 1 thumbs down.
It was me! No, I'm just kidding. I don't know why that reminded me of Liar Liar when he farts in the elevator. It was me.
It's probably that. It is a fart in the elevator.
Yeah, yep, pretty much.
So I've noticed that. So thank you to whoever you are.
Yeah.
That does that. I've noticed that. Anyway, so it's building up. We have a lot of interaction.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's definitely growing.
Make sure what we're looking for.
Make sure you check us out on iTunes or in the Google Play Store. Find Podcast Republic, because it plays all Comic Movie Mark podcasts, possibly.
Maybe. We don't know at this point. And also leave us that all-important iTunes review. Really helps us out, helps us get rated, and possibly more listeners if we get rated a little bit higher.
Make sure you check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Yes, and we are also now on Vero.
Vero is going to have a little bit different content than what's on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. It's going to have kind of half-ass, shitty behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yeah, just kind of giving you maybe behind the scenes of how we prepare, how we edit things.
I bet you're dying to know.
Oh, I'm sure. And we just lost our 4 followers. But maybe some shit that we've collected over, like Matt has a picture of his Green Lantern logo on his truck. Maybe we'll throw that up there. Just things that we've collected over the years, kind of showing our dedication to this prior to the podcast. Some behind the scenes, as Matt said, on the show itself, a little bit different than kind of our approach with Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Which
we figured if you're listening to us or whatever, following us on Vero, you actually give a little bit of shit about this show.
Right.
Because there's nothing else on there.
Yeah, pretty much. So, and you can maybe kind of see how some of the research goes into each show.
Wow, you are way overrepresented.
The lack of research.
In case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. You're one of very few to make it to the end.
Yes, thank you very much.
Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Comic Movie Marks Podcast and hit the notification bell. All these fucking YouTube channels say this shit, so I'm going to say it now.
Yes, it's perfect. And if you want to hear our full podcast, you can check out our podcast on iTunes or any other podcast subscription service.
Make sure you subscribe. Thanks again.